So we get started this podcast by apologizing for being late and all that crap. But I thought it would be better.
All that crap. You mean apologizing to our listeners for neglecting our obligation of being on time.
Yeah, but who likes apologies? I think what they would rather hear is you be tested on your own podcast and fail miserably. That's like a real apology.
I imagine they probably do enjoy that because they're a bunch of jackasses.
Yeah, so that's my form of apology. So you're welcome, guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the chart rank, the country of the chart, and what chart it's on. And you have to tell me which episode of our podcast did this, accomplished this goal. Okay. Okay? You think you got it?
No. I mean...
There's only 1, 2, 3, 4 episodes. 4 episodes, okay? You got this. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So if anybody doesn't know, Chartable is like a free service or whatever that like allows us to know like where we are in charts or whatever. We became aware of it when we hit number 23 on like the film review chart in the USA. Yep. I don't know. Some kind of a weird fluke. But anyway, some of our episodes have made the charts and I think it's interesting. So, ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So, on January 31st, 2020, this episode reached peak position of number 19 in country Pakistan. What is the episode?
January of this last year.
Yeah, January 31st.
I don't even know what movies are from then.
Sames.
1917. I don't even know.
I think that was in February,
Probably.
But I could be wrong. No, so this is Bombshell.
Oh.
Now, you don't really know what the draw was in Pakistan, but thank you, Pakistan, for listening to our episode and making us reach position 19.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so next one. Ready?
Sure.
So this episode, if it would load, reached peak position 42 in the TV and film genre and country Turkey. On January 19th, 2020.
January 19th.
Yeah, we're back to January again. I'm sorry.
I
will give you a hint that this one is not in January. We did not record this episode in January.
Did not record in January.
No.
Still doesn't help me. The holiday card? Or the Christmas card?
No. 1 month earlier. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was Jim Henson's Turkey Hollow.
Turkey Hollow, because they confused turkey for turkey.
The country for the bird.
Ah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, but I'm fine with that. So, Turkey, if you want to keep listening to us, I mean, I'll talk about Turkey. We can do a Turkey history minute. I'm down. I'm in.
Your dictator kind of sucks, though.
And I didn't say that. Remember that. That was Tyler. Okay. Next episode. Ready?
Sure.
So, this reached peak position 173. Again in January 22nd, 2020. In country Australia on genre film reviews. What episode was it?
Australia.
Yep.
I have no idea. Saving Private Ryan? We've done that a while ago.
That was a long time ago.
I have no idea.
It was Goodfellas.
Oh, okay.
Now, I don't know what the draw to Australia Goodfellas is. Can we...
Because they don't have the mob?
Do they not?
Well, they're a country founded as a prison, but I don't know.
I feel like we said a lot of offensive things in the beginning of this, so that's fun.
That's a factual statement. It was Britain's penal colony. They sent all the prisoners to Australia. That's what happened.
Penal colony.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You're 12.
I'm 12. Okay, so the last one. And this one is United States of America.
Oh.
Yeah. On March 5th, 2020, this reached peak position of 246 in the film reviews genre. What episode?
Wasn't it our last episode?
You can do math. I'm so proud of you. I feel like my heart's so big. Yes, it was Snatch.
Okay.
Yes. So, I mean, we've reached some charts. We can't explain a lot of it, but hey.
I mean, we're kind of a big deal. Let's be honest
I mean, honestly, we're kind of a big deal. Anyways, so this week, we're doing my choice, and I am very happy for it. Invisible Man.
Invisible Man. I'm Tyler.
I'm Shay.
And this is Cinematically Correct.
And this was the in-theater movie. We try to do 1 month. Or we do one a month. What do you mean
one
try?
One per month. Yes, we do a current movie. My choice is next month, so I'm excited.
Yeah, so be nervous as usual. But I think we're making a comeback from last week. We heard you guys. A lot of you were very nice by telling me I was wrong, but also being nice about it. So I appreciate the decorum.
Well, it wasn't telling you that you were wrong, just not wanting to agree with me, I feel.
Yeah, you guys really towed that line, and I, for one, appreciate it. So, thank you.
I feel let down, honestly. I do think that the positioning or the rating has something to do with all of the people rating us. Now, we did just get a 1-star review, I believe.
Oh, yes, we did. I knew you were going to have to bring it up. You couldn't do it.
It's not helpful if there's nothing there. You can't just say 1 star and then nothing, because that just is garbage. You're a garbage person.
So in some of his little rant there, we love all reviews from 1 to 5 stars, really. But if you're going to leave us a review, let us know why. Let us know your reasoning, because we're all about growing. And if you listen to us from the beginning,
wrong, then tell us we did something wrong. But don't just throw snowballs from the back row. Like, that's...
As you can tell, he's a little hurt, a little in his emotions about this. So again, if you've listened to us from the beginning, you know that we've changed and evolved along with a lot of things that you guys have told us that you prefer. And also just with getting used to doing this, I guess. But I know that we have very unpopular opinions a lot of the times. And it did come from last week of me saying I didn't like a movie that was obviously beloved. So I can take that heat. I got the 1-star review for us. I'm sorry.
I do blame you for that.
Yeah. Anyways, so before we get into the movie and the reviews and trailers and all of that, do you want to start off with your beer?
I do want to start off with the beer. This is Skyrock Brewery. The name of the beer is Ghost, which is apropos.
You're not going to tell people like what Skyrock Brewery is? Because
wow, you're getting ahead of your. So Skyrock Brewery is a nano brewery out of Attleboro, Massachusetts, your hometown.
Yeah.
So
home base.
Yep.
So hopefully you don't hate it, because that basically means you hate my home. So.
Well, it's a dry hopped pale ale. So
good luck.
Not overly optimistic. I'll say it's going to get a 3.
Well, I mean, that's not horrible. Oh, satisfying.
Yeah, it's like drinking a Christmas tree.
That's usually his sign of he didn't like it.
I mean, it's not great. I'll revise. 3.33 repeating. 3 1/3.
It's not Pi Day. Although we're close.
That's 3.14, darling, not 3.3.
You said 3.13 repeating.
3.3 repeating. 3 1/3.
Oh, sorry. That's not what I heard. But we were close to Pi Day, so I figured,
So, all right, trailers, because it's the current movie. We're not jobbed like we have been in the past.
Yeah, we got trailers up the yin-yang for this one.
So, first one was Candyman, which I don't really have any interest in seeing. It's the old wives' tale of saying Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary in the mirror.
But I mean, it was a Jordan Peele movie.
Yeah.
So I don't hate him. He's actually really good. We still haven't seen Us, though.
We haven't seen Us, but we did see Get Out, and I really enjoyed that.
Right. And I'm down for creepy movies, so like I'm not against it.
I'm not opposed to it. It didn't really draw me in. I didn't feel an overwhelming need to go see it.
Okay. I can feel that.
Next was Saint Maud.
Yes.
Another creepy horror style movie.
Yeah, you would almost think we went to go see a creepy horror style movie. And that's funny. Weird.
The only redeeming part of this trailer, which I'm also not really into seeing, is that it had Meryl Streep. And Meryl Streep doesn't do bad movies. So it has to be good, or it has to have something that drew her attention to it. So I'm tempted to see it just for that, because it didn't look all of that interesting. It didn't look all of that impactful, but she's in it, and it has to be. So
right, I literally wrote wasn't interested until I saw Meryl Streep and heard Billie Eilish.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I just want to know why Meryl Streep signed on.
So we have to watch it now.
Yeah.
Like we need those questions answered.
Next was James Bond, No Time to Kill.
I wrote No Time to Die.
No Time to Kill.
Oh, I guess I got that wrong.
Might have been No Time. I don't know. It's the next James Bond. It's Daniel Craig.
Die, kill. It's all in the same vein. It's fine.
James Bond, License to Kill. I mean, who knows?
I wrote not even remotely interested. So
really,
yes, I mean, that's what I wrote.
James Bond, you know what you're getting. It's a known. It's like going to McDonald's and getting a Big Mac. Like it's not great, but you know what you're getting. It's consistent. Like
my dad watches all the James Bond movies, and it's one of those like, I mean, if it's on TV, like I'm gonna watch it, but like I'm not going out of my way to see it.
Yeah. Next was The Way Back, Ben Affleck. basketball.
Inspiring AF.
Yeah, I'm
in.
I'm totally in for that one.
I love inspiring, like, true story type things.
I haven't done an inspiring sports movie in a while because you don't ever do them.
Darling, November is our inspiring sports story month, and that wasn't that long ago.
Well, I mean, yeah, but there are other months that we could do sports movies in. It's not just designated to fall and football season.
You also get your own choices, actually. So I wanted to let you know if you didn't know.
But I'm totally down to watch that.
Oh, I'm in.
Current movie even? Like, I'm totally okay with seeing that.
Absolutely. Down.
Next was Quiet Place 2.
Yes.
Totally excited for that. I thought that John Krasinski in the first one killed it in his directorial debut. Totally interested in seeing this.
Yeah, no, I mean, I was hesitant because Krasinski obviously cannot be in this movie. And if you haven't seen Quiet Place 2, I'm sorry, but he can't.
Quiet Place 1.
Quiet Place 1, right. So, but he's still directing, and his wife is still in it, and Emily Blunt she's stellar. Like, right. I love her. So, I'm down. I want to know where they go with this, and it looks pretty intense, so I'm in.
I mean, the whole stressful having a baby with monsters that hear sound, it sounds like it's going to be suspenseful and just well done, because the first one I loved.
Right.
So, last one, I think this is my favorite trailer. It's The Hunt.
You think?
Oh, God, it was so good.
So good.
So excited for this movie. And it's not even close. Like, it's so funny, but also seriously hysterical. Like, it's a movie about rich people hunting people.
Right.
And it's a comedy.
It looks amazing.
It looks great.
It's done by the same production company as Invisible Man, Blumhouse.
Right, yep.
And I wrote Boy Meets World and Hilary Swank. I'm so in. So I think I meant because the guy that played the wrestler guy in Boy Meets World is in this, yes. And then obviously Hilary Swank.
Well, we've actually done one of his movies because
we have.
He was in Friday Night Lights, I believe.
I think that's what it was, yeah. But I'm in. I'm in, down. You've sold me. Like, I want it to be now. I think that might be
one of my current movies coming up as soon as it comes out.
Yeah, I'm almost excited for that as I was for this movie. So.
Oh, I'm totally stoked.
Yeah. Anyway, we have wasted enough time with our intros and all that.
You say waste. I think it was well worth. We're giving people more for the podcast because we're late. So.
Oh, okay.
A brief synopsis then?
Yeah, get on it.
Brief synopsis.
So brief synopsis. This movie is about Cecilia, who is an abused woman leaving her rich and powerful boyfriend / fiance or whomever. Boyfriend. And him creating an invisible suit and terrorizing her for the entire movie. And making her live the worst life that she could possibly live, basically.
That's fair.
Yeah. So that's the movie.
Oh, okay, then.
He has an invisible suit, and he terrorizes her and basically makes her seem like she's crazy.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, so obviously we need to go through the characters. Now, There's not a lot of people I actually want to talk about. So, if you want to add people in, please let me know.
Okay.
Okay, so Elizabeth Moss.
Yep.
She's the main character of the movie. She plays Cecilia. She plays kind of a strong woman, but definitely coming off of a very traumatic experience, very vulnerable.
Well, she starts off very vulnerable, very, very sympathetic, and then she comes into her own, realizing that no one's going to help her, and she has to develop into a much harder person for her own survival, I feel.
Right. Now, we obviously know Elizabeth Moss.
Yes. Well, we don't know her personally, but she's in West Wing, right. Which we've been watching quite a lot, and... yeah, she's the president's daughter that gets kidnapped. Yes. Spoilers.
Yeah.
But it's 20 years ago. So.
I think she's most well known for Mad Men.
Well, she's in that too. Handmaid's Tale.
Right. Well, I'm so glad you brought that up. So Handmaid's Tale is actually my connection to Gilmore Girls.
God, I'm sorry.
Sorry. It's just there is no way out. But anyway, Handmaid's Tale, Elizabeth Moss stars in, and as does Alexis Bledel, who is Rory Gilmore.
You just had to...
I couldn't help it. I was actually really hoping that Elizabeth Moss was cameoed or something in Gilmore Girls at some point because she was, pretty famous at the time that was a really popular show. But sadly, she did not. But it's okay because she's starred alongside Alexis Bledel. So connection made.
This is now my life.
You're welcome. So if anybody was wondering if I could make that connection, you're welcome.
I'm going to find one that it can't be done.
Good luck, my friend. Good luck.
Right.
Anyway, so Oliver Jackson Cohen plays Adrian Griffin. I do not know this man at all. Do you know this man?
I don't think so.
So he's actually not in the movie that much, but he plays a narcissistic, abusive boyfriend who was a leading scientist in the field of optics and was able to create an invisible suit to terrorize her after she decides to leave him in the middle of the night by drugging him with diazepam.
No, I don't know him at all.
So some movies that are on his IMDb are Dracula, The Secret River, The Great Fire, Mr. Selfridge. Nothing I recognize. So if you guys have movies you recommend of his that you want us to see, let us know, because we have not seen anything from him. Yeah. So, but I mean, he did well, but I mean, he wasn't in it that much, so there really isn't much to say.
I mean, he did well, but it's not like, it's almost like Anthony Hopkins in Silence of the Lambs, where he was a very good performance, not as good as Anthony Hopkins as Hannibal Lecter, but he was very good. He just was in the movie for 10 minutes.
Right.
Because he's invisible for the rest of the movie.
Right.
So
there's that. So Harriet Dyer plays Emily Cass, which is Elizabeth Moss' sister in the movie. She plays kind of like it's almost like an unsympathetic character. Like it's somebody that you...
tough older sister that you are relying on, I guess, and then abandons her halfway through the movie. Yeah,
she's complicated, but she definitely has the most dramatic scene in the movie, so we'll definitely talk about that. Wow. But I don't recognize her from anything either.
Me neither.
So, I mean, I did look at her IMDb a little bit, and still, again, nothing, but I mean, I liked her. She did well. And then the last person I want to talk about.
Aldous Hodge?
Yes. Now, obviously, we've done him before.
Yes, we did Brian Banks.
Yes. And we said then he plays like one of the most likable characters, and this does not change that.
No, I don't think I've seen a performance by him where I didn't like him as a person.
Right. Like, the whole time, I was actually kind of hoping for a love story between him and Elizabeth Moss, because, like, their chemistry is amazing. And he's just one of those characters where you just want that, like, amazing happy ending for it. Like, the whole time, I'm just like, yeah, I want her whole abusive thing to end, but, like, what about him, though? Like, I mean, he's going to have a good story, right? Yeah, exactly. Like, the whole time. He's also a great dad. Like,
yeah, he's a great dad. He's a likable guy. He's doing the right thing because it's the right thing. Not looking to get anything out of it, just trying to be that good example for his daughter and good example for the world.
Right. And he's also not like the stuffy good guy, like he's like funny and like cool and like just everything you want in a guy. Like he's
also
just
ripped out of his mind.
Oh yeah, and gorgeous.
Ripped out of his mind.
Yeah. So I mean, what's not to like about him? I will watch any movie you put in front of me with him in it. Like, I'm down. So I didn't know I liked him that much, but I do. I do.
I mean, that's really all the other characters. The only other character in the movie at all is the lawyer brother that we hate because he's kind of a dick.
Yeah, and I mean, so we should say that he was the character that you kind of like, you wanted to root for at the beginning, because he says like, I dealt with narcissism from my brother my whole life, and I hate
him. I totally get it. I'm sorry.
Right, and you almost felt like you should side with him, but the whole movie I was like, something's wrong with this man. I don't know what it is, but I don't have a good feeling. And I don't know him from anything either. But
I mean, the only two people I recognize from this are
Elizabeth
Moss, and Aldous Huxley. So
the brother plays a snake, and he plays it well. So.
That's really it.
We should mention that there is a cameo from the villain of the movie Upgrade, which is written or directed and produced by the same people from this.
Right.
Jason Blum and Lee, I don't remember her last name. But regardless, they did Upgrade, and the villain was in this movie. He played the interviewer that interviewed her when she was looking for a job. There is speculation that it could be in the same universe, but there is nothing to back that up. So,
well, there's no continuity, because if he was the villain in a different movie and it's the same universe, he would be a villain in this movie. And he seemed like a creepy but not villainous person.
Well, he outright hit on her. Let's put that out there. And then also, we don't know if he wasn't planted. He could have been interviewing her, particularly for the reason that the Invisible Man didn't want her to be interacting with people that she could out him.
Right.
So, we don't know.
I don't know. I did like the cameo or the reference to the original, where the the fedora, the trench coat, and the glasses in the room.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was a nice touch.
Yeah, so I mean, since you're moving into that direction, we might as well explain that this movie is a remake.
Remake of a 1930s era movie, The Invisible Man, based off of H.G. Wells' novel.
Yes.
Invisible Man, same name.
Right, so it's Universal Studios' Monster Universe.
Right, so that's the Wolf Man, the Invisible Man, I think Frankenstein is part of that.
Right.
All of them.
Now, it was originally going to be part of the Dark Universe, which had been starting to be rebooted with the movie Mummy. And this movie was going to have Johnny Depp as a titular character, but Mummy did...
It bombed.
Yeah.
It bombed.
Yeah, it did super bad. So they decided that they were going to go in a different direction. And I think that's when Jason Blum signed on and all of that. And Johnny Depp was knocked off the titular role, obviously, because he's not in this movie.
Yep.
But so now it looks like they're going to be doing more monster movies. We don't really know what's going to be next. There's been speculation, of course, as there always is. But it looks like it's going to be very singular type movies where they start rebooting that, which, I mean, I'm here for. And I like this, that it's not a remake that was recently done, right? So, I mean... Some of these are remakes of remakes of remakes, but this is from the 30s.
I saw this movie 5 years ago the first time. Why am I watching a remake of a 5-year-old movie?
Right.
So like that gets annoying as hell. All of the sequels that we get inundated with, it's enough. I don't need to see a Fast and Furious movie every year for the rest of my life.
Right. I do, however, want to address the elephant in the room. I heard you guys on Twitter. I heard people on Reddit. I mean, all y'all. Telling me that this is a remake of the Hollow Man movie. So I wanted to set the record clear. We checked on that. Hollow Man was inspired by the H.G. Wells movie, which is the original source material of this movie.
H.G. Wells' story that was made into a movie in the 30s.
Right.
Yes.
So, to clarify, Hollow Man is a remake / inspiration type thing. It's a kind of like a
It's an homage. It's drawing directly from the source material, but it's not a direct...
Right.
telling of the story.
Right. But it's of the Invisible Man original movie and H.G. Wells' original story.
Right.
Which this movie, The Invisible Man, is a direct remake of. So Hollow Man is like an in-between. But this movie is not a remake of Hollow Man.
It's Hollow Man is an offshoot that is very similar in the narrative, but it's not the same.
Right. To clarify that.
Yeah.
Wanted to get that out of the way. So, I mean, there are some differences from this movie to the original Invisible Man.
Yes.
I don't know a lot of them because I have not seen the original. I'm actually curious to see the original now.
So I think the original, it was something where he either injected himself in...
Yes, it was a serum.
It was a serum. This was cameras and optics, so there's differences there.
And he was a chemist in the original.
Right. The other part of this is that there was no direct parallel with the get-up where he has the hat and the trench coat and the glasses, and like he has to live his life as an invisible person. I haven't seen the original, so I really have not a whole lot to draw on. So.
Right. Well, I mean, what I see as the main difference is in this movie, this is very much a movie about an abusive boyfriend who uses his intelligence and his invention and all of that to harm his ex-girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
The original movie, it was very much he was injected by this serum and he was trying to become something more for his wife. He wanted to like do more and be more ambitious and whatever, and the serum actually made him crazy. So that was the original movie. Now the original actual source material, the story itself, he was already kind of psychotic and he was driven by the lust of power.
Okay.
So this movie kind of like went in between the original movie and the original story. But, I mean, that's like the major difference that I can see. And obviously I haven't seen the original movie, so you guys probably can point out way more than that. But I think it's really interesting to do it from this route. I think it's interesting to see. It seems like it's very much more from her perspective than it is from his perspective.
Right. So it's her story. He is just the
villain.
The villain. He's the focal point of all of the tense circumstance, all of the abuse, all of the bad things in her life. And that's very much a part of her story, but it's her story.
Right.
Almost.
Right. So when we left the movie theater, you told me you had a lot of issues.
I said I had a lot of questions.
Yes, you had a lot of questions.
I had very many questions.
So should we address those questions?
Certainly. So the first one is he blind in the suit?
Now, why did you ask that question? Because I had no idea.
So, in terms of how your eye processes seeing things, light is a very important part of that. And it goes in through the pupil, in through the lens of your eye, and it hits all the rods and the cones in the back of your eye. Now, if those are invisible, the light's going to pass through those without seeing that. And you're going to be blind because you can't see if you don't have light to see. The only pause I had to that is because it's a suit and he's wearing cameras, you can still see through a camera even if it's a one-sided mirror,
right, and
things of that nature. So that makes way more sense than the original where he himself is
right. The serum
is invisible and it's a chemical that he injected into himself, much like Hollow Man. Hollow Man, he would have been blind as well. So I was very struck by that because I don't know the answer to that, but my first thought was he wouldn't be able to see. Second thing, he still occupies a physical space in the world. Like he has a body that happens to be invisible.
Yes.
And there's a scene where she's chasing after him in the rain and you don't see an outline of an invisible person. Which bothered the hell out of me because in Hollow Man, he was invisible, but they set off the sprinklers and you could clearly see a human outline. So
it really bothered you? Yeah?
It did bother me because I don't know how that works. The only other thing that really irritated me from this movie was the whole cameras didn't stop working until the end scenes in the movie, whereas she'd hit him with plates and metal things and like thrown paint on him, which you're never going to get the paint off in the first place. All of those things happened earlier in the movie, but the suit worked fine. She stabbed him with a pen one time and it broke down.
I mean, that's fair, but there are some things. So, one, we don't know. He obviously had multiple suits, so we don't know if maybe it did break down and he was able to switch out, like run away, switch out before she noticed. We also don't know if there are certain designs of this suit, like maybe the certain material or certain whatever that, I mean, it is science fiction, right? So we have to have a
suspension of some of the disbelief. I get that, but right. it's certain things are going to bother me just because they stand out.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think that with this movie, there is a element of not reality. There are things that you're going to have to accept to enjoy the movie. But, I mean, I didn't feel... This is just like in The Quiet Place, where there are a lot of things where if you really wanted to pick it apart, you're going to be able to pick it apart. There are problems. Right. But I don't think it really took away from the movie. I mean, there wasn't a lot of time where it really took me out of it. Because to me, it was more focused on the abusive relationship and how she was dealing with that, the emotions that were involved, and that overpowered... to me, the elements where it wasn't very believable.
I mean, I think that's fair. There was a lot of really well done scenes, and they did a very good job of setting the tone as a very nerve-wracking, tense movie. But it just, I think the reason it bothered me, especially for the rain, is that I saw Hollow Man, and he was outlined as an invisible person by the sprinkler system.
Well, now we have to see the original Invisible Man, so we can see what they did in those situations. Because from what I read, the original Invisible Man was very heavily done with special effects. Now, obviously, it was in the 30s, so special effects meant something different. But this movie was very much not done with special effects. So I'm actually very curious to see how they handled that kind of thing, because it was very well known for their special effects back in its time. Right. So I'm curious to see the differences.
I mean, I would be interested in watching the original, just to compare it to both Hollow Man and this movie and see how it is. It's considered a cinema classic as well, so, I mean,
we might as well watch it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
As a movie podcast, we're basically obligated at some point to get around to some of the classic movies. We haven't done many of them, but we should work those into the rotation at some point.
I'm in for that.
Now, how did you like the tone and pace of this movie? Because it was very tense.
Yeah, so it was really tense, and I think a lot of that was thanks to Elizabeth Moss. I mean, it's funny because she has like this huge cult following and everyone like loves her or hates her. Like it's one or the other with her. I didn't really have an opinion either way because I really only know her from West Wing, which she was kind of a kid. So I didn't really have an opinion. But her facial expressions in this movie, her mannerisms, the way she just interacted with people, all of that just kept me engrossed in her, and it made everything she was feeling feel so much more real. Like I could relate to her on a lot of levels on what she was going through and everything, and it kept me like constantly engrossed. I didn't find it slow in any way, or I felt it was always kept moving.
I mean, I think that's fair. What drew me into the tense circumstance was the soundtrack, like the sounds, the music.
See, I didn't even notice the soundtrack in this one.
The dog's bowl at the beginning of the movie, the as she's trying to get out, the ominous, fast-paced tones. I thought that was where I was feeling the anxiety coming from, which I don't normally notice because I'm tone deaf. But
you say that in a lot of podcasts.
I do.
I genuinely didn't notice the soundtrack in this, and I think that was because I was so focused on the emotions, like that it just that overtook me. But
where do we want to go from here?
Well, I mean, so we didn't talk about the actual arc of the movie. So we didn't talk about the fact that her ex-boyfriend, basically what happens is he commits suicide. I'm going to put air quotes around that. Because she left him. She drugged him with diazepam and she left him.
Right.
And so he does this, and she finds out that she was left millions of dollars. And it's given to her like over a certain amount of time, but there's stipulations. She can't be mentally unfit and she can't commit a crime. So the whole movie is kind of her dealing with having that money, being afraid of him because she was told by him that he would find a way to become invisible and stalk her. That he told her that at some point in her life. And she knew about the suit somehow.
Well, she found the suit because she was paranoid that he would go to crazy lengths to ruin her life.
Seemed like she knew about it, though. She knew exactly where she was going when she went to go find that suit.
Right.
So, but anyway, it's a lot of this movie is her kind of dealing with the stipulations he put into place. It's all a matter of control after death, quote unquote.
It's one of those things where how are you going to convey what is happening if it's so crazy that no one actually believes what you say? If you're the only one experiencing these things, then there's no way for you to prove that you're not crazy.
Right. So, but that leads me to a question that I had in this movie.
Okay.
So, I wasn't bothered by a lot of things. However, he died, according to him and his brother. Mm-hmm. And she found out this information because her sister saw it on the news.
Yes.
How did he fake his own suicide and get it on the news?
My thought here is he paid for a body double because he's loaded and had plastic surgery to make the person look like him and just had him murdered in his house. So you're just going to make the assumption that he is the person because he looks like the person he's in the house.
Quite lengths to go to.
Well, he invented an invisibility suit to stalk his ex-girlfriend. That's killing one person to facilitate that isn't that far out of the realm of
That's fair. That's fair.
Probability.
I mean, obviously, this his motivations for all of this were just very power hungry, manipulative, very based on his own drive to have her.
Well, he's very self-absorbed. He's a sociopath. He's a megalomaniac. He's all about himself. Doesn't care about other people, and like he gets everyone in his life involved in this. His brother takes part, and he has very much control over his brother. But he's going through such lengths because he wants her in his life because she fulfills some kind of need for him.
Right. She fills that void of needing that power, and she's strong enough that she gives him a run for his money in that respect, and he needs that. He needs that challenge. He needs that to feel that it's worth it.
Right.
So
I suppose that's fair because if things are too easy, then you get bored. That's just human nature.
Then you can find someone else.
Well, it's not even finding someone else. If you're playing a video game and it's too easy, then you're like, well, this is stupid and boring.
Right. Exactly. So anyway, but we haven't talked about the big scene in the movie. The scene that made everybody be like, what the heck just happened?
The restaurant scene?
Yeah.
That was spectacularly done. I was thoroughly invested in that. Although, realistically and practically, I don't know how all that would work, because in a restaurant, the waiters and the busboys and everything is going so fast that like he would have gotten smacked by somebody and knocked to the ground.
Maybe.
But like it's close quarters and chaotic and...
Fair, but I mean...
But the scene in question, in spoilers, is that she is meeting with her sister that left her over one nasty email.
Yes, which the internet's very upset about, because they do not understand how a sister could just up and leave over one email. Should we talk about that at all, or?
Well, we'll get to that in a moment. So they're sitting down, trying to reconcile, and he comes out with the invisibility suit and slices her sister's throat at the restaurant table and puts the knife in her hand, and then watches the chaos. So yeah, it's just so out of the blue, out of left field. I was thinking that he was going to do that because we saw the knife saved with her fingerprints in the attic. But I didn't expect that coming right then. I expected it was going to be something done when it was just her at a house or in an isolated instance, not right in the middle of people.
See, I didn't even think that he was going to kill someone. I actually thought that he was going to eventually off himself, and he was going to frame her for his murder. That was where I was going with that, because I figured, that's like the ultimate... Like, FU is to finally complete that murder.
He's too in love with himself to kill himself. So that breaks down. But the sister, she left her alone after one email. And you had some very strong thoughts on this because the internet really didn't understand.
Yeah, my opinion is, when you're coming out of an abusive relationship, you've already pushed away your family. You've already pushed away your friends. You isolate yourself because... you don't want them to know how bad things are, because you want them to feel like you have control, and you also don't want them getting involved. You don't want them to get hurt. You don't want any of that. So it is very common for somebody who's abused to have already isolated themselves, to not treat their family that great, and to be kind of obstinate. So I don't think that an email like that, especially when she's just coming out of this and also is saying things that her sister thinks is pretty crazy, would be that far out of left field. And it probably came at a time when the sister was like, I'm so over. You're being rude. You're being distant. You're isolating yourself. You're not even trying. You're making up all these stupid, crazy assumptions.
I had to go get my car fixed from the night I got you from him in the first place because he punched a hole in my window.
Right. Like, you're not helping yourself. So at this point, I'm not helping you either. I'm done. Like, not so far out of left field. Now, I wish that her sister did more, and I wish she tried harder, but... she did show up at that restaurant, so she didn't just cut her off. She was upset.
I think the movie could have done a better job outlining the fact that she did push people out of her life because of the relationships that she had been in.
Anybody who's been in an abusive relationship knows that, though. That's not uncommon.
So, none of the internet, clearly.
Well, I mean, the internet movie reviewers are made up of mostly men.
Predominantly men, yeah.
So, predominantly, they have not been.
That's not to say that men cannot have an abusive relationship.
No, but I don't know that it manifests in the same way.
Well, it even if it does or doesn't, I mean, it's a different experience for people.
Right.
Every time. So there's no cookie cutter.
I like how you're trying to make this better. After the beginning of the podcast, you insulted like a whole group of people.
I insulted one dictator who's honestly a war criminal.
Okay, and we're going to keep doing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I actually want to... So back to the restaurant scene.
Okay.
I want to take props for noticing that he stole the knife in the first place. Do you know what scene it was from?
I don't.
So she's cooking in the kitchen and she almost lights the house on fire.
With the young daughter of...
With the daughter in the
Aldous,
house.
I think
yes. But she drops the knife on the floor and it doesn't make a sound. As she's walking out to like get the door or something, the knife falls off the counter and there's no sound.
And he grabbed it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I was like, that's not how gravity works. So I picked up on it right away. So I just want to give myself props for that.
Well, then can I give myself props?
Yes, you can.
So
you earned this one.
Yeah. So at one point in the movie, she is getting a blood test for because she had diazepam in her system.
Yeah,
after she passed out.
She was drugged and passed out at a job interview.
Right. And the doctor is on the phone and she's saying, you had diazepam in your system, and she keys in on that and she gets really upset and she's not listening to the doctor also saying, there's more in your blood test that I would like to talk to you about, but I don't think it's something we should talk about over the phone. You should come in. So at that moment, I wrote down, she's pregnant, I'm calling it now. And I said it to you, and you were like, are you okay? Like, are you okay? But the reason I keyed in on that is because earlier in the movie, they had mentioned that he wanted to get her pregnant, and she didn't want to.
Right.
So she was secretly taking
birth control.
I don't know if diazepam has anything to do with that, or if there's other pills that he could have been giving her throughout the time that would negate birth control. But as most people know, antibiotics do that. So I'm sure there's other medications that do that.
Well, he also, the brother towards the end of the movie said you didn't think he knew about the secret birth control. He was giving you sugar pills, basically.
Right. So, I mean, he was negating that birth control, and that made sense. So, now granted, I will say the confusing part is she got beat up a lot after being pregnant.
I was going to talk about that, because that is, none of those scenes in that movie are good for a baby. She was choked and held in the air. She was hit, beaten.
Right. Now, we still don't know. They didn't clarify what she was going to do about this baby. Like, is she just going to, like, let it be a narcissist baby? Is she going to give it up for adoption? Is she going to do some other horrible things? Is the baby already gone because of all the beating up? We don't know.
I memean, like, that was just thrown out after that one scene and then just never really talked about again. At the end of the movie, it was a completely different narrative, and then there was, we totally forgot that she's pregnant. It was, like, kind of thrown away.
Right, which I kind of want to know. Like, is there going to be more to this story? Is there going to be a sequel where we find out what the baby's deal is? Like, I mean, there's questions, right?
Right.
So, anyway, I think we're getting kind of far along,
yes.
but we do need to talk about the ending.
Yes, the ending. Great ending. I thoroughly enjoyed it, where she puts on the invisibility suit that she had hidden and cuts his throat on security camera. He looks like he's cutting his own throat.
While her detective friend is listening in.
Yep.
Yes, and she did it in a way where nothing could get recorded. It was all, like, seeming like she was trying to get him to confess on recording, which is what the detective thought she was doing.
Yeah.
And no indication that she had anything to do with the murder. And you do know that she stashed the suit. Earlier in the movie, we saw her stashing the suit, so we knew that it was going to come back. I just didn't even expect it. Like, I should have expected it, but I didn't. I didn't expect her to go there.
Well, for that whole first part where she's outside the door, I was like, shoot him now, just shoot him. So much better than that.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Well done. Which,
surprise!
I want to ask you a question. What are the ethical question of being invisible? Because you can obviously get away with a lot of things if you're invisible. Mm-hmm. And if you're wearing a suit and there's no fingerprints and there's no DNA, there's no way for you to be caught. Are there things that you would do?
Are there no fingerprints when you're invisible?
Well, he was wearing a full bodysuit.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so the suit.
With the suit, there's no hair, there's no fingerprints, there's no anything. Are there things that you would be willing to do and not willing to do with that kind of power?
Well, I mean, I think it all depends on circumstance, right? So, I mean, in her situation, she was getting rid of someone that there would be no way to get rid of in any other way. Right. She already proved that nobody would believe her. So, at this point, she was taking matters into her own hands because she had to. And I feel like I would do the same. Right. So, but would I randomly go around killing people? No. Like, obviously not. That's not, no.
Robbing an insured FDIC-covered bank or, like...
Yeah, but people, that's other people's money. That's not the bank's money.
Yeah, but it's insured by the federal government, so who cares?
I have morality issues with this.
That's why I'm asking the question. If you're not actually hurting someone and it's all protected, you're not going to use that for your own financial benefit?
Not if it's going to impact other people. Whether or not they're insured, they still have to go through steps to get their money back. No. No. Mm-mm.
Well, I'm asking because with great power, the old expression is, power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Like, there's not a single thing that you can't theoretically do, or there's very few things you can't do if you're invisible.
Fair, but also, the more things you do, the more chances of getting caught.
Right. Which is why you have to be strategic in what you do, I feel.
But if you're consistently doing things that are immoral, you're becoming more and more corrupt, which means that you're becoming more and more less likely to be thinking through what you're doing.
I suppose that's fair. I just, like, stealing from someone that's not going to... Like, going to Fort Knox and stealing the gold reserves. Or, like, things that...
You do know that the gold reserves are not invisible. So when somebody walks into your house and is like, hey, that's a lot of gold. Where'd you get that? Fort Knox. Like that, you know, there's a lot of things.
I understand that there are more logistics there, but I'm just saying that there are things that you could do that would benefit yourself. And I'm making myself sound like a horrible person, but I was just asking the question.
Oh, well, I mean, it's an interesting question, but no, I am not a horrible person like you are. So,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, where do you want to go?
Well, you need to do a history minute, don't you?
Tyler's History Minute.
I do, and I have a very quick history minute because it's a sci-fi thriller horror movie type movie. So I wanted to talk about the development of camouflage. So camouflage is actually a fairly new concept in the grand scheme of humanity, where it was first developed and first used in the 18th century by Jaeger men or rifle units in war. Up until right around the Civil War and start of the First World War, a lot of countries had bright military uniforms, and the thought process there was because you're going to have to like mix with the enemy and fight them, you want to be able to identify the people that you're not supposed to shoot at. But it also makes you very visible. So very on in World War I, where you're fighting a trench war with machine guns, you want to be very hard to see. So they started to go more towards browns and greens and things that will blend in more naturally. Whereas animals have been doing this for millions of years because all animals are brown to blend in. Like that's just a thing.
Yes.
I mean, fish often are two-toned, so they're dark on the top, light on the bottom.
Oh, that brings me to jellyfish.
Well, so it's because if you're looking up, you see the sun and it's bright, so the white or the lighter color blends in. And if you're looking down, there's less light, so it's darker, so they're harder to see. So I thought that was interesting. The only other thing is that they are currently working on invisibility. Like they're actually trying to work on bending light to make things disappear to the human eye, which they are making some significant progress. It's not perfect, but it's impressive. If you go to YouTube, you should be able to see things where they're hiding things that shouldn't.
Right, it's actually really cool. You should share that video because it's actually really cool, like what they're able to do. I mean, it's not perfect. There are, obviously things that still need to be worked out, but they are figuring out how to bend light.
Right. So, yeah. And it doesn't make you blind. So that's a positive.
Right.
So
is that all you got?
That's all I got.
Okay. Well, so I did want to mention the jellyfish thing since you didn't seem to care. But in this movie, she calls the brother a jellyfish. She says that he's just like the Invisible Man, Adrian, but without the spine.
Yep.
And I thought that was an interesting connection to make because jellyfish is one of the animals that is the closest being able to make themselves invisible because they are translucent or transparent. I never know which one it is.
It's translucent. It's the reason that plastic bags in the ocean are such a problem because sea turtles will eat jellyfish and plastic bags are clear and they look like jellyfish floating out in the ocean and they'll eat them and die.
Right. Now, jellyfish, because of their translucency, can be very hard to see in water.
Yes.
So they're the closest animal to becoming invisible. So
right.
I thought it was an interesting thing for her to use. And of course, now, after she called him a jellyfish, when he was in the house attacking the young girl, the young girl was also wearing jellyfish on her shirt. So that was a hint to the fact that it was him, not Adrian. So anyway, wanted to say that.
Audience asks?
Yeah, audience asks.
Audience asks.
Okay, so Bra Lesnar asks, here's a question. If she was given $5 million by her then deceased ex, $100,000 a month, then WTF was she doing going on a job interview?
Well, I think certain people want to find fulfillment in something that they enjoy. So it's not really work. There's a very big difference in working because you want to work versus working because you have to work. Like going to your job that you hate because you have to pay your bills sucks. And that's a human experience. Everyone can understand that. going to work and having what the fuck am I doing? I don't care. Like, fire me. It's fine. Takes a whole level of pressure off that most people don't understand.
I'm actually surprised that was something you said, because I know for a fact that if you were handed that amount of money, you would quit today.
Oh, no, I 100% would. I would find other things that I enjoyed doing more than working. But
right. Now, I am different than you. I would continue to work because I need that drive. I'm somebody who constantly needs to be doing and working and moving forward. Just I would be doing what I want to be doing, not what I have to be doing.
What I want to be doing is going all around the world and seeing new things and not having any real responsibilities or cares. But
means no worries.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I want to be going around the world thrifting, selling things that I find while not caring how much I sell, just enjoying it. Yeah.
So we're going to have warehouses and warehouses of things one day.
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Great.
Sounds about right. Okay. And the last one, because we try to do 2. Cinema Gulp asked, is it strange that the most iconic shot in the movie isn't actually in the movie? So I think what he's referring to, because a lot of people mentioned this, is that in the trailer, there is a scene where she's, I believe, in the shower and they show hands. And that never happens in the actual movie.
It doesn't. I was actually waiting for that because I saw it in the trailer and I saw that scene. I was like, okay, they're gonna throw that one in there, and it never came.
Now I will say, just because you seem to have hesitated, so I'm just gonna jump in there, that it makes more sense for it not to be in the movie, because if that were to happen, then now you have the question of why was he able to make those handprints in some scenarios and not in other scenarios, because we're assuming the suit makes him completely invisible, which means no fingerprints, no nothing, no whatever. So why would that happen? And also, I like the fact that lately movies have been teasing in trailers parts of the movie that aren't actually there, because you're constantly waiting in anticipation for that, and then I think it adds to suspense.
Well, Good Night Mommy did that, where the whole
eating a
cockroach, which didn't happen. So I will agree with you there. It kind of builds a level of suspense, waiting for that moment, for the come on, we're expecting,
right,
and then nope, you can go to hell, and you die. We're not going to do it.
Exactly.
But I mean, you can't make handprints with gloves on. Like you need an actual bare hand to do that. Right.
So
they probably were, when they made the trailer, not sure entirely how he was going to be invisible, whether it was the original serum versus a suit, and so they just put that out there because they liked the visual of it,
right, and
then had to change gears and rework things.
Right. Now, there is another scene in the trailer, which I don't think this person's referencing, but I don't know, where she says there's somebody sitting in that chair, and that never happens in the actual movie. And I'm actually, again, glad that wasn't said in the movie, because I feel like that's almost like a little too much, like a little on the nose. You know what I mean? Like, they don't really do that in this movie. They don't really, like, point it out kind of thing, which makes it more eerie, and you know what I mean? So, I don't know. I'm kind of here for that, but...
Well, you've seen that in a lot of those kind of invisible movies where the person... There's some kind of tell. Where Predator, they can't see it, but it's a shimmery thing, and it just...
Right, but I don't need it spoon-fed to me. Yeah. I can clearly see that there is a form. I don't need you to...
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think that's fair, and I think that they did a very good job with the representations that they did, which was no representations other than a few minor scenes, and that just built the suspense, because it's like Jaws. It's, if you don't see the monster, you don't see the villain, it's anything because it's your imagination.
Right, exactly. So I'm here for that. Anyway, we gave you guys more because we were late, but also sorry that you're going to be sitting for an hour, but I hope that most of you guys have seen this movie, because if you haven't, like, first of all, I just spoiled all of it for you, but second of all, I think it's one of the best movies that are out so far. I mean, we are only in March, but it's a top contender this year for me anyway, because I just...
Well, you were all about watching the movie, and you didn't have any problems with having gone to the movie after the fact. So sometimes when you build a movie, you are disappointed when you go.
Right, but no.
But you enjoyed this movie thoroughly. I did enjoy this. I had a few minor pieces of contention, but the music and the sound was spectacular. They did a great job of building the tension and the suspense. So I really enjoyed this movie. On to reviews and ratings?
Yes, please.
Reviews.
So Rotten Tomatoes has it at 91%.
Dang.
And I was very clear to do the 2020 version, not the 1930s version. So 91% the critic score, and then 88% audience score.
So really close.
So it holds up, yeah. And I think that's fair. There are a few minor things that I had a problem with, but that's just me being nitpicky. The movie had a great pace to it. It had great suspense. The acting was better than I would have expected. I was able to connect with the characters and feel sympathy. So there was an actual stake in the movie rather than just sitting there going, well, they can all die.
Right. Like it was in Snatch.
I would say I'd probably give it an 8.
Okay.
So I don't know if I go all the way up to 9 or 8.8, but I'll give it a solid 8 because it was very well done.
Okay. I would give it a 9. Obviously, now I relate to this movie on more levels than just enjoying the movie. I mean, a lot of movies do not show narcissists, and I've talked about it many times in this podcast that I have personal experience with that, and I enjoy seeing that on the real screen. It's, I don't know, just something I connect to. And then Elizabeth Moss is just incredible. Like, how can you not like her? The only reason I wouldn't give it a 10 is that the few minor, like, okay, there was paint on him and then there wasn't. He was able to wash it off with water. Like, in what world is that even I don't. Yeah. Okay, so fine. Like, little things like that were just kind of like, we could have tried a little bit harder on that part, but fine. Like, fine. So, other than that, I still, love this movie and would watch it probably a million times over. We're probably going to own it. So, there's that.
Great.
I do want to say, just real quickly, that there is going to be an Invisible Woman movie. It was announced November 2019, and it is being done by Elizabeth Banks. So, yeah, they said it is part of the monster universe, but it is her own original story. I don't know what it's going to be or what it's going to mean, but I'm kind of curious. I mean, Elizabeth Banks, I think of funny.
Right. I don't really see her in a lot of dramatic movies. I mean, she had some serious roles, but it's not... She's more well-known for her lighthearted comedy.
Right. So I'm down, though. I'm in. So yeah. I'm interested to see it, but I wanted to make sure we put that out there because it seems like that's going to be probably the next thing in this universe, maybe.
Right. Hopefully.
So yeah. So if you guys want to talk to us outside the podcast, I am on Twitter at cinematicallyc, and Tyler is BlameTylerCC. Again, as we always say, tag me if you want to talk to him because he's never on Twitter.
I'm never on Twitter.
Yeah. And that is also where you're going to find our audience ask section. So if you have questions about upcoming movies, make sure that you're on there and you're tweeting that out at us. We do our best to at least get to 2 every episode. You can email us cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com. We have a website, cinematicallycorrectpodcast.com, where we put our timestamps. I will say we're always behind. Usually Tyler's fault, sometimes my fault, but either way, we're always behind.
It's life gets in the way of art.
Yeah, but if you're looking for specific timestamps, hopefully you can find them there, and if not, they will be posted eventually. So just put in your email, and you'll get notified as soon as that episode you're waiting for is posted, whenever that may be. So just put in your email and subscribe. People have been liking our Facebook page recently. I still don't really post on there unless we're at, close to a milestone or some kind of rating happened or whatever, but feel free to go ahead and like it. And if you guys want to start conversations with yourselves and talk about things about how horrible we were or how awful an episode was, feel free. Go for it. Talk amongst yourselves. But yeah, anyways, so next week is your choice movie.
Next week is my choice movie. It's St. Patrick's Day movie. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing a Boston classic. Which
you kind of have to.
I do. It's Boondock Saints, which is a classic guy movie. It's just there's.
Now this is a movie we've both seen.
We have both seen it.
I've only seen it once.
I've owned a couple copies. They've walked away somehow over the years a couple times.
So people have stolen them from you.
Yes,
that's what you're saying.
People have actually stolen from me.
Got it. Okay, so we will be back next week with Boondock Saints. I want to thank Jake at Athos Music for our intro and outro music, and we will be back next week.
Thank you for listening.